Development of at least 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy by 2047 is essential for our energy transition efforts. A nuclear energy mission for research and development of small modular reactors with an outlay of 20,000 crore will be set up. At least 5 indigenously developed small modular reactors will be operationalized by 2033.
Well, the budget here in India is out, and in the union budget, a lot of focus on income tax. How does it help me? How does it help the common man? But in terms of the larger picture, what are the areas that might go amiss but is very important and critical for the country in the near future? Energy security is one such. In a day and age where there is global instability, there are wars and conflicts, you're looking at a lot of dependence on outside energy. And what the Indian administration has done in this union budget is try to focus within to ensure that there's less dependency outside, and the country is more focused not just on becoming more independent, but also clean. So the budget allocation today on nuclear energy spells out about 20,000 crores that would be allocated for nuclear energy mission, and that is in budget 2025-26. So it's a very important development. To discuss what this means for India, I'm being joined by Richita Ember. She's an energy analyst, Asia. Ruchita, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. This is a massive budgetary allocation when it comes to the focus. Now, what do we have over here? There are small modular reactors, which are advanced nuclear reactors characterized by their compact size, and that's what the focus is going to be. India will operationalize 5 small modular reactors by 2033. Richita, break it down for us. What does this mean?
So the target that they are trying to achieve is in a way longer term. So we already have solar and wind specific targets for 2032. And this one is for when India turns like 100 years of independence, 2047. And by then, we are targeting to reach from 8 gigawatt, around 8 gigawatt to 100 gigawatt of nuclear, which is a very welcoming move, very supportive of non-fossil fuel based capacity, and to ensure long-term energy security as well. So this is definitely a welcome move, and a strategic move for that matter. At the same time, there will be multiple steps needs to be taken where private partners can get involved, and the public is sure of nuclear safety as well. So that remains to be seen how we take this forward, and what we will be able to deliver in 2033 and 2047 as well. So this remains to be seen. But at the same time, while this is a very big announcement in terms of nuclear and in terms of energy security, there are multiple, I would say, short-term goals as well, which are supposed to be focused on, where we are in a way lagging, and we need to pick up, for example, for solar capacity installations or wind capacity, and battery storage as well. So this is a great long-term strategy, but in short term, we would need more energy storage capacities coming up online and more wind capacities as well. So,
well, yeah, that's a very important point, Ruchita, that you're making. You're saying that there has to be a good and a right mix when it comes to nuclear, solar, wind, and other aspects as well. While the nuclear energy mission will focus, and it is long term, will focus on energy security. What can get us immediate energy security is if the country focuses on solar and wind as well. Do you think, if you were to look at the budget, do you think that the government is lacking in that focus on solar and wind, and that what would your recommendations have been?
So I will not say lacking, Basically, this particular budget came in as a long-term strategy, wherein going forward in the year, multiple other announcements, policy-specific announcement might happen, which are in line with what is required in the short term. For example, something related to energy storage, where they might increase the viability gap funding, which they announced like 2 years back for energy storage. At the same time, the focus was on manufacturing as well in this budget. So there is this national manufacturing mission, which targets both MSME sector to generate employment. At the same time, domestic production of these solar panels or wind turbines, or batteries for that matter. And the basic customs duty was also reduced on various critical minerals and waste and scrap as well. So this, in a way, is a mix of long-term plus short-term strategy in the budget. But the expectation remains from short-term perspective to um, uh, in terms of policy and financial support to come up over the year as well. So this is, to me, appears as a mixed budget of a long-term and short-term strategy.
Okay. Interesting, Ruchita. How do you see the budget allocations itself, not in just in terms of India's vision to become independent or less dependent on international fuel, but also from the prism and perspective of global instability? There are conflicts, there are wars. We have a Trump administration in the United States of America that might not want India to continue doing business with, certainly with Iran, but also maybe look at a harsher position when it comes to Russia as well. So, in such a scenario, is it an immediate need, and the urgency can be seen in the budget to be less dependent on international sources for fuel, so that India really does not is not impacted by this instability that we are seeing in the region and the world?
I may not be commenting on how we are placing ourselves, but in terms of like in terms of countries specifically, but definitely as a country, we would want to uh, remain in a position to continue our growth. And this particular budget, or the previous strategies as well, have been to become self-reliant. But at the same time, one country cannot survive without collaborations. So we have to explore avenues to collaborate elsewhere, and that is what, in my personal opinion, the country is trying to do, to find avenues for collaborations with countries, have stable relationships as well. At the same time, focusing on countries' development. Um,
Right. Now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced plans to develop Bharat small reactors. This is part of the push to expand its nuclear energy capabilities. How do you see the announcement itself, where we're not talking about large nuclear reactors, but smaller modular reactors that becomes, it certainly is more practical and more viable. So, what is your opinion on the shift in focus within the nuclear capacity building that India is looking at?
in my limited expertise, because nuclear is something that, as country is also starting to exploring, is yet to be explored kind of area for me as well. But I think this has been a focus area in terms of research and development as well, and previous year's budget also had this uh, R&D allocation for such reactors. And definitely the installation of such reactors is quicker comparatively. They would require lesser space in terms of because there are safety concerns involved in nuclear, and they are very well known that if a hazard happens, it can be way more um, damaging versus any other type of power plant. So I think this smaller modular reactor will be quicker to install, as well as the safety measures involved in this um, may or this is what my understanding is.
Right.
It will require lesser space probably, so ultimately quicker to install.
Right. And more efficient as well, because in terms of investment, in terms of time consumed to install for a project to be completed, because if it's a larger plant, it'll be more time consuming. Having said that, my last question to you, in terms of, and you've seen this in the past, this is an area you've been looking at, which is solar, wind, energy sector. In terms of budgetary allocations in the past and implementation of the projects, has India done well for itself, or are we lagging behind and we can do better?
So in terms of solar, I would say we are almost reaching 100 gigawatt, 97 at the moment as of December 2024, and inching very closer to 100 gigawatts. So in terms of installing
2025, you
solar,
mean?
um, in December 2024, we were almost there at 97 gigawatts, and soon it will be 100.
Mm-hmm.
100 gigawatt of solar in India's total installed
Okay,
capacity.
okay.
So that, having said that, we might have to accelerate our implementation in terms of energy storage, because as solar keeps growing in non-solar hours, it will be very difficult to supply a clean source of energy. So battery or pumped hydro storage is something where we need to focus more. Same goes for wind energy as well. So in terms of solar, definitely we are ahead, or we are at least moving faster than other technologies. Uh, but solar is in that way, its batteries are just coming up, and the cost decline is also yet to happen. So there are multiple factors involved, but we can do better for sure in terms of uh, other technologies.
All right, Richita Ember, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. Thank you.